Hey everybody, I'm Logan Alec. I'm a CPA. I own Choice Tax Relief. We help taxpayers who owe the IRS at least $10,000 in back taxes. Give us a call, 866-8000-TAX for your free consultation. Today I'm talking about IRS notice CP71D, this nasty little guy right here. In this video, I'm going to tell you what this notice is, why you got it. I'm going to be going over the notice on my screen part by part. And then finally, at the end of the video, I'm going to be telling you what to do if you received IRS notice CP71D. So first of all, what is this notice CP71D? Well, for starters, it's a CP71 series notice. Okay, there are different kinds of CP71C notices. For example, there's a CP71A, there's a CP71C. I've covered both of those in other videos right here on the channel. Link to one of those videos at the top of the screen. CP71 notices are reminder notices, annual reminder notices from the IRS to you, dear taxpayer, that you owe the IRS a certain sum for a certain year. In this taxpayer's case, they owe $541,000. For tax year 2014. Now, out of the major CP71 notices, 71A, 71C, there's 71H, which is for the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare penalty. But out of all these, the CP71D is actually the scariest. And for this reason, you only get the CP71D if you are in active collections with the IRS. Your case is either with IRS ACS, the automated collection system, or has been assigned to a revenue officer. Okay? Let me repeat that. The CP71D is the annual reminder notice sent to taxpayers who are in active collections, either an IRS automated collection system, ACS, or with a revenue officer. So unlike some of those other reminder notices in the CP71 series, which kind of imply you can just sit tight because you aren't in active collections, CP71D is sent out if you are in active collections, meaning the IRS has you in your sites and you really should be doing something about it. Why the IRS sends this notice? Well, it's kind of what I've already said. It's because you owe them money for a particular tax year and they're looking to collect it from you. So with that being said, let's go through the CP71D notice part by part. Plain English. They changed a lot of these notices to just speak more plainly in plain English. You have the exclamation, the triangled exclamation point here, which we're seeing in a lot more IRS notices. You still owe a balance due for tax year 2014. Amount due, $541,422.77. Plain as day, right? Plain English, elementary school English. You owe us for tax year 2022, and here's the amount. We're sending you this notice to explain the amount you still owe for your 2014 civil penalty. Okay, this particular taxpayer is civil penalty, it's trust and recovery penalty. For the vast majority of folks out there, this is going to say like income taxes, Form 1040 income taxes or something like that. You must pay the amount due by November 25th to prevent interest and applicable penalties from continuing to increase. What this means here is basically saying, hey, this payoff amount, this amount here, 541, whatever the amount here, is good as a payoff amount through this date, right? And this date is well, in this taxpayer's case, 2 weeks from the notice date right here, right? 2 weeks from November 11th is November 25th. Your timeline may vary based on how much you owe, but basically it's saying, look, if you pay this off after November 25th, there's going to be more penalties and interest added to this balance, and this may no longer be a good payment amount. However, good news is this deadline is pretty much irrelevant to most of our clients because most of them, they aren't paying off this whole balance in the next 2 weeks anywho, right? Which is why they're coming to us, because they are unable to do so. Next section, what you need to do now, what the IRS says you need to do now. Well, first of all, they kind of cover their butts. Hey, if you're currently working with a revenue officer, contact them to discuss your payment options. If you have a revenue officer assigned, you've probably been receiving a little bit more mail than just a CP71D. Let me just say that. And you need to tread very carefully with that revenue officer. You need to know what to disclose, how to disclose it, what not to disclose. You don't lie, but you don't necessarily have to disclose everything. You got to be smart because that revenue officer is going to use anything you say, do, submit to them on a 433A or otherwise against you for IRS collections purposes. Of course, what the IRS would love for you to do is just pay off your balance now. Yeah, just easy. Got 500 grand? Yeah, pay it off. IRS.gov/payments. And of course, there you can pay it off with any of these payment methods. Next section, consequences if you ignore this notice. In this section, the IRS is telling you what they will do, or they could do, if you choose to ignore your tax debt, as indicated in the CP71D notice. And although there are other consequences for not paying your taxes than those that are listed here, they do list 4 of the major ones right here. The first one is the possible transference of your tax account to a private collection agency, that's CBE Group, Coast Professional, or Conserve. Those are the 3 that the IRS is working with right now. Not a bad place for your debt to be, quite frankly. All they can do is, now, just to make this clear, these are not debt collection agencies that have bought the debt for pennies on the dollar from the IRS to then collect as much as they can. They are collecting for the IRS, right? They're trying to get you to make payments to the IRS. You still owe the IRS, okay? If it's CBE or Coast or Conserve, they are simply urging you to pay the IRS, okay? So some people get that confused. You can always take your case back to the IRS, if you so choose. But that is one potential consequence here. Second one here, they say we can file a notice of federal tax lien notifying your creditors we have a claim against your property subject to any applicable collection due process rights. What is that about? Well, once a tax debt is assessed, folks, the IRS automatically has the right to your assets and your rights to assets, your property and your rights to property. Okay, they call that like a secret lien, because no one knows about it other than you and the IRS and those you choose to inform. However, the IRS has the power to let everybody know about the IRS's claim to your assets and rights to assets, and they do that by filing a notice of federal tax lien in county records. This is public record. Anybody can pull it up and look at it. Now, obviously, most people don't go thumbing through public lien records. That's just not something that people tend to do regularly, but some people do. For example, someone looking to lend you money to see if you owe anybody else money who may have a right to the property securing the money that they're going to send, that they are intending to loan to you. They may be very interested in an IRS notice of federal tax lien, right? So this can, make things like getting a mortgage or refinancing a little bit more difficult for you if you got one of these suckers out there against you. Next thing, possible passport issues. The U.S. Department of State may revoke your passport or decline to issue or renew a passport if you are certified as having seriously delinquent tax debt totaling more than $62,000 adjusted annually for inflation. So if you owe enough in back taxes, folks, the IRS / Treasury Department may do what's called a certification of your tax debt to the State Department, basically telling the State Department, hey, this individual has seriously delinquent tax debt. I think I've covered what exactly seriously delinquent tax debt is in another video, link at the top of the screen. It's more than just the balance, right? There's more requirements that have to be met by a tax debt than it just exceeding the amount for the year, $62,000 currently. There's some other things as well. Link to that video at the upper right-hand corner of the screen. But yeah, that's the thing. Your passport typically won't be revoked, people. Typically what's going to happen is you're going to be blocked from being able to renew your passport, or if you never had a passport before, getting a new passport. You're going to submit your passport request, and you're going to get a letter from the State Department saying, hey, IRS certified your tax debt to us. We can't honor this passport renewal or passport request. You have 90 days to fix things with the IRS. Then theoretically, the IRS should decertify the debt with the State Department, and you can continue your passport application. This is, of course, a best case scenario. The real world scenarios are often much uglier and take much, much longer. Please be warned. So if you're planning to travel outside the United States in the near future and you have anywhere near the $62,000 figure in tax debt, you probably want to take care of that sooner rather than later. You don't want to buy your tickets, non-refundable tickets, and then come to find out, I can't take that trip to Paris like I wanted. All right. Number 4, your future tax refunds may be offset. I think most people know this. If you owe the IRS money, for previous years, and then you file your tax return and it shows a refund on the tax return, IRS is going to take that money and apply it to your back tax debt. And of course, interest and penalties. Every day you put off paying interest, increased interest and penalties as applicable are added to your bill. Now, the IRS gives you some options if you can't pay in full. These are tax relief options, folks. These are the kinds of things that we negotiate for our clients because we know the system. First thing, pay over time. This is a payment plan, an installment agreement, right? You can set these up. You can set a long-term payment plan up online if you owe less than $50 and you're okay with paying in full. If you owe less than $100, you could set up a short-term payment plan online, right? So, if you think you have the funds to pay this money off and you owe less than those thresholds, if you can pay off, let's say you owe 50 grand or less, you can pay it off, within a few years. Or if you owe 100 grand or less, you can pay it off all this year, right? You could probably just, go on there and set that up yourself, right? If that's going to be trouble for you, well, there are other options for you. The IRS isn't exactly going to hold your hand through them. That's what folks pay us to do. For them. And one of these other options is the offer and compromise, which is, of course, an agreement with the IRS to settle your tax debt for less than you owe. I've covered offers and compromise extensively on this channel. I have a whole playlist about them, linked to that playlist at the top of the screen. Then I was talking about temporarily just delaying collection. This is currently non-collectible status. I'm not going to go in depth on that here. A link to my very in-depth currently non-collectible status video at the top of the screen. Then you have your billing summary here for this particular client and this particular CP71D. It's very basic. It just says amount you owe and the amount for that 2014 tax year. What are we talking about now? Then it's talking about what you need to know. This is kind of rote stuff they put on pretty much, or a lot of these reminder notices. View your account information, irs.gov/account. Great. Most of you know how to get an IRS account. The passport thing, we've already talked about that. This is redundant. Notice a federal tax lien, that's a little redundant as well because we've already talked about that when we talked about the consequences up here. Additional information, this is all very rote and standard as well. Publication 594, the collection process, where you can get IRS forms by calling that number or going to irs.gov/forms. Phone number to call the IRS. You can also contact them by mail. And then, of course, at the end, they have a payment coupon. In case you want to send the IRS some money right now via check. You send it in with a check for whatever amount you want to pay. If it's something different than this amount, you'd write it right there. With your social security number, the tax year, which in this case is 2014. For you, it'll be different. And the form number, probably 1040 if we're talking about individual income tax issues here. And they mail it to the IRS at that address. Of course, most of our clients are not, just clipping out that payment coupon and making that payment in full to the IRS anytime soon, hence why they reach out to us. So now that I've talked about what is the IRS CP71D, why does the IRS send out CP71D, and since I've gone through the CP71D part by part, allow me now to talk about what you should do if you receive an IRS notice CP71D. Well, folks, unlike with the CP71A and CP71C, where you have a little leeway, right? CP71D, you want to get ahead of this right now because you're already in the IRS's crosshairs, because this is a notice that the IRS only sends to taxpayers who are in active collection statuses with either ACS or a revenue officer. So the best thing you can do right now is put together a game plan on how you're going to address this tax debt, because you are squarely in the IRS's radar at this point. Now, the answer could very well be borrow money, liquidate assets, pay off the IRS in full. Okay. Sometimes that is the answer. Sometimes that is the right answer. Not everybody has the means to do that, though, even if that is the best answer that will minimize penalties and interest. That's where these tax relief options come in. First thing you need to do is see if you qualify for a settlement, an offer in compromise. That's the first thing we do when we look at a taxpayer's case here, choice tax relief. Hey, are they going to qualify for an offer? Are they going to qualify for a settlement? And you need to know those rules, okay? I have my offer and compromise formula video. Link to that video at the upper right-hand corner of the screen if you don't see it there, because I ran out of those card to use in the video. There's someone will put a link in the description as well. If you don't qualify for that, consider CNC status. Consider a partial payment installment agreement. I've covered all these on my channel before, right? You just got to look at my all-time tax relief videos. You'll see them. Okay. That is the end game here. Okay. You are in active collections. If you avoid this, if you do not deal with this, you're going to end up with things like bank levies and wage garnishments, things like that. And it's not going to be pretty, folks. It's not going to be pretty. You must pursue a tax relief option. I have a whole playlist. Thank God, right? I have a whole playlist. Actually, no, let's not do that. I want you to watch a video. I want you to watch my video on the tax debt relief options explained. That's up the upper left-hand corner of the screen. If you want to talk to somebody, you owe at least $10,000 to the IRS, you got a CP71D or any other notice, you want to talk to somebody about this, give us a call at Choice Tax Relief. Okay, it's 866-8000-TAX, 866-8000-829, or go to choicetaxrelief.com, fill out the form on our website, and we will reach out to you. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.